Okay, first story. A lot of my mornings I start out doing my writing and news reading and stuff like that at home. Like to be around before the kids go off to school, and then days like this, show days, we have a show prep at 10 a.m. So I just happened to be at home at 8:50ish, something like that, and I had 2 state patrol officers show up my home, and they're looking for information about the story we broke 2 weeks ago. Pull up the A1 here, Dawson. This is a story. We did a show on this. By the way, Truth Hurts News LLC is a news company. Just FYI. I don't know if they think we're going to share sources. We're definitely not sharing. If you give us information, and I'm going to show you a state statute that protects us, your information's fine. Law enforcement are not going to get our sources, okay? They can ask whatever they want, but we're not going to give them away. This is a story broke. Someone was on the roof of the governor's mansion, and they erected a sign that said Walz Failed. Now, when you look at the Bleeding Heart lefties at the opinion section at the Star Tribune, I'll get into this article or column. Pretty hilarious. Anti-Walz graffiti is sprayed on roof of governor's mansion. I actually don't know if it's sprayed. I've looked at this image many times. I mean, you thought so, Dawson. It could be sprayed on something. It's not on the AC unit. It could be tape. Chopper 5 flew over. They had a little bit of higher res photos than we had. I don't know. So is it vandalism? Is it not vandalism? I mean, I think they got punked. I think that's pretty obvious. They got punked. So I don't know. All I know is I had a source that alluded to the fact that this was on the building, and so we reported the news story. And that ends up bringing the state law enforcement, to my house this morning. Now, I know that they've talked to associates of mine, and so it's pretty interesting to see that. I like how Whiskey Tango Foxtrot says, burning down Minneapolis would be considered peaceful, right? Okay, so go to this KSTP on the A2, Dawson. They actually flew Chopper 5. I believe most are taking the image from them. And, this is a much better image, a lot more high def. I'm sure they got better cameras than we did. But then, yeah, they got the same story. Now, we were the ones that broke this on Monday. I think this was Wednesday that they broke it. I'm pretty sure it says Wednesday. So then the mainstream media did it. See, we're the tip of the spear, right? And important news stories. But this is really fascinating. We are reporting news. Does State Patrol, which is in charge of the security of the governor's mansion, and by the way, Governor Walz is not in that mansion. It's being renovated at your expense, like $12 million. Probably only worth $3 million, but they're going to do $12 million. So, yeah, they do they think like we had something to do with this? Like, why are they coming to us, a news agency? Pull up the A4, Dawson. I mean, maybe they thought I'm not wise and would just divulge a source. We'll call that source Deep Throat. They are Deep Throat. This one time I'm not going to be gender specific, right? So this is 595.022. In order to protect the public interest in the free flow of information, the news media should have the benefit of a substantial privilege not to reveal sources of information or to disclose unpublished information. To this end, the freedom of press requires protection of the confidential relationship between the news gatherer and the source of information. Now, this is just like a attorney or a doctor has the right to have confidential information. You can't, as a police officer, ask for a lawyer, or the lawyer doesn't have to tell him what a conversation with the client is, just as the media doesn't have to reveal sources. This is actually pretty damn fundamental to our system of government, which, by the way, the Kamala Harris campaign administration is not going to want. But this is pretty important because if we are compelled to give away sources, well, then no one talks to the press and we don't have transparency. It's a damn important fundamental thing. It's so important that it just happens to be part of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. The freedom of the press. The press would be able to get information and do that. Now, why do they come to my home? That's not where my company is registered. Why are they coming to my home? And so this is what I really wonder. I don't have the answer to it. The two gentlemen were rather nice. Law enforcement tends to be more on our side these days. Not that I trust law enforcement a lot, but they seem like nice guys. It was a brief conversation, but anyhow, we when I was leading Action for Liberty, there is some precedent of Democrats coming after us and using law enforcement. Andy Parrish asks, does Minnesota have a shield law for journalism? You must have just signed on because I just read it. It is, just so you have it again, it's 595.022. So, and yeah, most states do have a shield law. So it's a very important fundamental right to be able to shield your source. So I don't know if
this happens at the highest level, and sometimes they use it for fake, phony purposes. How many times do we see the liberal media saying anonymous person from the Trump administration is saying this and this and this? So of course it's a common thing within the media, and unless you want to be a state-run media, there has to be separation from you and that government. It's just authoritarianism. You're right that without the First Amendment, without the protection of free speech and journalism, then the government can wipe out anything you say and do. And this was totally an intimidation tactic for them to try to shut you up.
You think so?
I think so.
All right, let me just, because I'm not so certain. I don't take on that yet. Maybe they thought I would help with their investigation. It's a week and a half into it. By the way, the reason it's State Patrol is Walz has been living at another residence. We are paying for 2 residents for Governor Walz, who's actually not even doing the job of governor right now. Let's just be honest. He is full-time running for vice president of the United States. And so he lives at the U of M president's residence on the U of M campus, or right by the U of M campus, whatever it is. And this is being renovated. So if it was the residence he lived in, I would imagine Secret Service would become knocking, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe Secret Service knows that they can't ask or should be asking journalists for their sources. So anyhow, this is when I was running Action for Liberty. This is the A3 Dawson. The Democrat, I guess I put the majority leader. This is Ryan Winkler. Maybe I attribute it to him instead of Melissa Hortman, probably because it seems like something that weasel would do, right? We were running ads against legislators telling them to end their emergency powers, and they had, I think it's probably because we had their cell phone numbers on it, but by the way, they all contact our cell phones when they want our votes in election time, and they didn't show up to the Capitol. This is during COVID. They weren't at the Capitol, so we put the number that you would actually be able to reach them by, their personal number, and by the way, it's public information anyhow. So we did nothing wrong here. So this is the Democrats putting the sergeant-at-arms, law enforcement at the Capitol, calling me, and when I actually called him back, basically he was cool. He was, because he knew he was in a gray area, and he's doing what he was told. He's just being a good Nazi. But he was basically trying to intimidate me at the behest of Ryan Winkler, Melissa Hortman, whatever Democrat machine that they got, to get us to stop running ads asking these people to end Walz emergency powers. Go ahead and play it.
Hello, this is Bob Meyerson from the House of Representatives Sergeant of Arms Office, looking for Jake Duesenberg. If you could give me a call back, I'd appreciate it. This is my office number, 651-296-4884.
All right, go ahead and end it there. That was just the voicemail. I end up calling him back. I mean, crazy, right? We're running ads and they want to intimidate us. Now, I have a long list of government bullies trying to intimidate us. One of their big tactics used against this campaign finance board, 4-0 against that. Gambling board, AG's office. I mean, you just name it. They've come after. I've had a city administrator after us. I've never had any trouble, really. None of these have led to anything. They use this as ways to actually get us to stop doing what we're doing. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. You seem more convinced than I am.
McSalty says it's official intimidation. The powers that be want you to know that they will be coming after you, especially when Kamala refuses to certify her loss, and the tyrants start to make the real moves. And that's a real possibility. I mean, Kamala Harris is going to be in that position where Mike Pence was. She's going to be the one standing in front of the Congress pushing those electoral college votes up. So, if these Democrats are not going to want to certify Trump, it's going to be a fight on January 6th.
Yeah.